Welcome to Crate Talk, episode 29. Joined by Sam and Peter, as always. Or I should say, I'm joining them. We're just going to review, what week was it? Week 11 or 12? Yeah,
11.
week 11, and then we're going to preview some week 12 and talk about some playoff implications because with the way points are distributed and who people have to play who, it seems like we kind of have a lock on at least the top 3 or 4 positions.
If you worry this show's going to be boring, by the way, don't worry. There's going to be lots of memes and lots of jokes. I might even get a few Batman vs Superman references in there. You know what I mean? Keep it topical.
Hey, no
Did you watch that movie?
No, we don't. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I'm going to get some references anyway because that's how I roll. So yeah, if you worry the show's going to be boring, don't worry about it. It's going to be fucking fantastic.
It won't be as bad as Batman vs Superman. Apparently.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a more entertaining 2.5 hours than Batman vs Superman was.
Heard not a lot of good things about that, unlike Korean League of Legends, which is terrific. So we can start off. First game. Anyone watch this? SBENU Samsung?
I did.
This terrific game of SBENU once again losing 0-2. So what were your thoughts, Peter? Did Samsung really actually have to do anything? Because it seems like Ambition was denied the Graves both games, and they didn't lose.
Yeah, because
SBENU actually played like an alright early game, as far as I remember. Like they didn't actually do nothing. You know what I mean?
yeah, the early was fine, but they never managed to win like and ever get an advantage, and like Crown was always too strong just on his champion. Even though they went like fucking Lucian game 2, like they bullied SBENU completely, like the whole game. Well,
Yeah, they did the Lulu Lucian, but at least they had Gangplank.
yeah,
I mean,
that's true. They had like some damage.
they had another threat.
Ambition did some things. It's like he formed up a lot and then was like usually. Flawless was just very unimpactful since he didn't get the Lucian either. Was a lot of jungle bans in the whole series. Like Samsung games tend to now turn around in a lot of jungle bans, and then with Flawless, they also had to ban Lucian. So both junglers were just like, we have no idea how to actually be as effective on this champion as on our other champions. So let's just farm up, but Ambition's still better.
Yeah, there were 4 jungle bans each game.
Both games, yeah.
That's gonna test your champion pool, and
so everybody was playing the main 2 champions, at least Gragas, but that's not their 2 main 2 champions.
Yeah,
So they exchanged Elise and Gragas.
Yes, that's what they did.
I feel like SBENU understood how important Ambition is to the team, and that's why they banned out like Kindred, Graves, and Elise. Nidalee? Oh yeah, sorry. They banned out Nidalee, Kindred, and Graves. Now I don't actually think there's any point in banning out Nidalee against Ambition because I've never seen him play a Nidalee and been like, yeah, that was really good Nidalee play.
Yeah, everybody
Even when it was mid.
When he was a mid laner, his Nidalee was alright. Now he's a jungler, like his Nidalee doesn't do anything. It's not that it doesn't do anything, but it doesn't do much.
No, but it does more because it can farm. I can control a lot more. And
Yeah,
get a good CS lead.
basically they just traded Elise and Gragas back and forth. I always love when they do this, like ban 3 champions and then just play like they remaining 2 good picks and just trade them back and forth. Like, no advantage was gained. Like, what was the point of those bans realistically?
They gave other other champions away that they're stronger in the current meta that probably should be banned, like Sivir.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't care too much. They made a poke comp to nullify Sivir, and Nuclear like got caught off a couple times because like he was being way too cocky with the spell shield, and he legit while the poke got damaged so hard, and he then instantly died after Ambition and was able to hit a cocoon because the spell shield was down. So it was yeah, that game.
Oh God.
The game literally just ended after they sieged up, and Nuclear died, and then they just pushed the whole base down because there was almost no kills that first game. It was pure poke comp where Samsung knew how to just push it in and use their poke to their advantage. And
Yeah, there's
the
like
game
almost no wave clear.
yeah, and Crown had like insane good snipes, so he could chunk out all the defense immediately. So they had to back off.
Crown's Varus is really, really, really
And
good.
Crown's,
I actually think like he's probably the best Varus in the world. Well, he's the best Varus in Korea right now. I don't want to say in the world because I'll get someone messaging me like, "What about this guy from Brazil?" I'm like, "Well, fucking, I don't know who that guy is." Like, yeah, exactly. Or like, yeah, have you seen Pobata play? I just don't want to get that kind of. So yeah, I'll just say the best Varus in Korea, just to
Oh, by far, yeah.
represent myself.
by default. Anyway.
Just for reference, when I say someone is the best at this in Korea, what I actually mean is in the world. I'm just being politically correct.
Just being polite. Just not
being
people.
polite and not crushing the dreams of Western fans too much. I'll let the teams do that.
Even though they
Oh yeah,
have been
the
crushed
team
year after year after year.
Yeah. Except for that one IEM. Don't forget that one IEM.
Oh no, IEM tournaments are important.
Hey, there's a cat.
There was a cat there.
There
Yeah.
was a guest cat on the show. Amazing.
Yeah. For
Never
today.
before seen cat. Peter owns a cat. Everyone, who knew that? I did.
Yeah, I didn't know. No, it's my cat now. I mean, but she's not here.
So, what did you guys think of Soul's play on Echo? Was he equal to Huni, and could he troll as well, or was it just
it was so
garbage?
pointless. Like the whole build was pointless. This like you went full tank and then like
Got a Vessel Scepter.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's his last item. He bought the fucking Abyss Scepter. Like it was a pointless pick where they could have picked like I can't remember what they said on the cost, but yeah, they were like countless. They could just legit just pick the tank and it would have been better. But they wanted to pick him to then play a tank on Echo, which is not good.
I don't get the point in Tank Echo. Tank Echo does not have great base damage anymore. They
nerfed the fuck out of Tank Echo. Like it's not a good thing.
And he doesn't have good CC, and his ultimate is based around keeping him alive. Now, if your ultimate as a tank is based around keeping you alive, something's wrong there. Like, surely a tank's ultimate should be around like locking someone down or protecting carries or something along those lines.
I mean, Trundle, Nautilus, Poppy. No, Poppy was banned. Okay, Maokai were up.
So there are plenty of tanks up, dude.
There's always a fucking tank up. Like,
I mean, fucking.
There's too many to ban them all out. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody bothers turning to ban out.
Well, there was no ban out on tanks. They banned out fucking 3 junglers every game, didn't they? Like 4.
Like there's no reason not to pick a tank there. Because they have yeah, I mean,
they have.
There's no reason to go Echo to then go tank. Like it makes no sense, and they have plenty of damage to their constantly. If they had a good CC tank, they maybe could have done something. But like it's like fucking Lucian does not give a shit about a tank Echo. No, if he has a pop Lulu with him, he does not care.
It's like building Zed as a tank or something like that. Like what's the fucking point?
Apparently, it's good if you build him as a brawler. You can win games in other regions if you build Zed as a brawler.
I think building Zed as a bruiser when you're ahead is very different to building. Like you're not going to rush like Spirit Visage, Sunfire. Okay, that's a bit different from rushing like Titanic Hydra and Sterix Gauge, isn't it? Really, like
yeah, that shit always gives you double. Echo was legit full tank.
Yeah.
I mean, so anything else saying this? Did we learn anything from Samsung and the fact that Ambition got denied junglers and still was able to do something in team fights?
We always ask that. It's just if he.
I mean,
it's just they needed him a lot less because there was so little threats coming from SBENU. So it was fine by just Crown and Cordy J doing the damage.
I think SBENU's plan for how to win, like as in what to ban against Samsung, was fine. I just think it's like for every good thing that SBENU do, they do 2 bad things. That's the way they kind of play League of Legends. So it's like, you know, in a sense, yeah, they targeted Ambition's champion pool. All right, that's a great start, but they kind of went overboard with it and then picked shit like Tank Echo and then threw the game a bunch and then didn't really have an idea about the team fight. It just keeps getting worse and worse for them, realistically. Like you know what I mean? There's such a huge difference between like SBENU and Kongdoo and like every other team in the league, basically. So it's like.
My issue with SBENU is usually like that. The Tank Echo is kind of weird because usually they have decent pick ban and then they just like don't understand how to do anything. Like usually they know who to target, what champions to target out, and then. And
also, it's usually Soul picking. No, sorry, it's usually Assassin picking the weird as fuck mid lane pick in order to like win the lane and then do nothing with it. He is the classic pick for lane, do shit in team fights. By the way, like I mean, I get it. I get it. He's on a shit team, so he's got to try and make himself look good in hopes he'll get a better off the next split. But like, he is the classic, like pick for lane, hope for the best.
He did better last season. Now I feel like it's so pitiful that he just picks another champion in almost every game. It's like, yeah, dude, that's not Not gonna help your team win.
He just wants that big Chinese or like a North American offer with the money he could just pour in. Cause look at all these weird champions I play. Like,
I have a giant champion pool that you can pick me up and I can beat up shitters.
wait, what Assassin has? He has a giant champion paddling pool in the sense that it's very wide, but it's very shallow.
Mm-hmm.
His actual individual skill. I never see him do anything with the champion. Like, that was amazing. How did he do that? He just knows how to play a lot.
Other than
champions at a
Vel'Koz.
competitive level. Yeah.
The Vel'Koz was really he seemed he had
Part of that is I don't want to be the bear of bad news. I think I've played like one game against Vel'Koz and seen him like 3 times in competitive play. Like, I don't know what the fuck, but I don't even know what Vel'Koz does really. Like, he has that thing that shoots out and it goes different directions. That's about as much as I know. Like,
he had a lot of true damage burst. That's it.
yeah, like, whoa.
His issue is he'll play it and then like come late game and be like, well, this isn't where I'm supposed to carry. You guys are supposed to carry this, and then just die.
Like, here's an example. It was only 2 days ago I actually learned what that move where Eloy like grabs you but like doesn't grab you and like pulls like a reflection. It was only like a couple of days ago I actually learned what the fuck that move did. Like, I didn't even know what the point of that move was for a while. Like,
that's the most stupidest ability she has.
Like, so yeah, so I mean, I generally learn about the game just by watching stuff and going, oh, that's what that ability does. I never actually like bothered to read stuff because like I'm too busy, getting paid and getting laid, but to like read shit. But yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Fuck books. Who needs books?
Well, if I'm gonna read something fucking proper, not like fucking League of Legends or like.
You have to read the lore. Just look at Freak's awesome champion spotlights.
Yeah.
You want to hear his terribly forced puns?
Mm.
I watched the champion spotlight since like the fucking Garen one back in like fucking 2011.
Right, that's maybe the rework Garen one because that was.
that was the original Garen champ. I remember the original Garen.
Oh yeah, me too. But
and being like, what the hell is this champion? Where's his resources? Oh, it just spins around all the time. It's just, oh, this champion's so stupid.
Oh yeah, old Garen. 6 on the fires.
Back on topic anyway.
I was saying, so anything else left to say about SBENU? Because we're gonna have to talk about them one more time.
Nuclear is fucking like he has no idea how to build for a situation. I feel like looking at his builds all the time is like, how do you want to do damage if you're not even building anything useful? It's like I can't help, but that team has just nobody that can carry them that carries them. So it's like no wonder they never win.
Yeah,
you have nobody in your team to carry. It's like
exactly like I mean, Assassin picks for lane. Flawless is good on Lee Sin, bit shit on everything else. He was all right on Rek'Sai, Rip Rek'Sai, I guess.
Yeah, pretty good.
Like Nuclear, or whatever you want to fucking call him, is like a little bitch in team fights, and like Soul is like his laning's got better, but again his team fighting's still shit. So like there's never anyone who's like just puts their balls on the table. Is like, I'm gonna fucking carry this game, lads. Like it's like they look around and go, right, who bought the backpack today? I didn't bring it. Oh, I guess we're gonna fucking not be able to carry the shopping home then, are we?
Yep.
Unfortunately.
So we can move on then to, because we're talking about both those teams again.
Yeah.
So now we have CJ ROX. Game 2 doesn't have much to say besides, wow, that was dominant. Again.
Yeah, I feel like ROX right now, like their standard game plan is they'll go into game 1, it'll be relatively close, but they'll close it out and they'll win the game. Like it won't look too close to the enemy team winning, but there'll be a moment where you're like, oh, the enemy team might be able to win if they did this. Then ROX will do, a good play and get themselves back into it. In that situation, they showcase more of like the ROX that we saw at the end of 2015, where they would like find really innovative ways to come. It's not even like they're finding innovative ways to come back. It's just like they're doing the correct play to help them win the game. You know what I mean? So that's where like their kind of mid-game rotations and stuff come in. And then in game 2, they just seem to have figured out the opponent to the point of like they could just kick their back door in like 2 minutes into the game and just fucking bum rape them, like basically. Pardon my French.
Well, it helps if Peanut gets.
Yeah. I feel like their draft phase as well, like in game 2, their phase, like, I think I know what to do against this team now, and like somehow manages to like maneuver it so Peanut gets onto like an on Kindred or Nidalee, and then it's just like game over basically.
Take away the Poppy, and you. Like, I don't see the Kindred as a takeaway, but Peanut is so good on it, so it's so helpful for them. Like CJ is so much worse than I have such a hard time to actually fight them because Poppy is by far Utara's best champion.
It's such a huge. jungle mismatch as well, like bubbling.
Yeah, that was
up,
the
like,
biggest issue. Like I saw that whole series. It's like, yeah, BD is actually fine, and you know Kramer like is doing as well as he can. Even though Lucian right now versus Silver is not fun team fights. Silver just does so much more, way easier. But then yeah, bubbling is like, yeah, he was really the issue.
The huge mismatch in jungle is just so painfully clear. And this, I mean, the second game was pretty much just Peanut took control and it never let go. And
No,
that was
Peanut and
all
Kindred.
they had.
It's something you don't want to fucking give up.
just think about it. There's an alternate world where Immortals doesn't really exist, and Raidover and Hoodie join CJ Entus, and the CJ Entus lineup would be Hoodie, Raidover, BDD, Kramer, Madlife.
Think about it. There's an alternate world where Najin chose the correct players to play.
Well,
And
yeah.
This team is named Najin.
Or it gets sold to Kongdoo.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of alternate realities out there.
So many.
If you believe in quantum universe theory, anyway. But
There's a lot. But so, I mean, anything else to say about the game one? I mean, BDD really kept them in, even though it was pretty much just because he was able to wave clear and keep them pushed out. He had some pretty decent plays by himself, but
BDD had a good series overall. I think he's steadily improving as a player. I mean, obviously, he can't live up to the unrealistic hype that was given to him as Faker 2 or whatever fucking, like, I mean, the Scout was a certain, I'm not going to go into the Faker thing again, but he can't live up to the hype. But
so what you're saying is that he's not going to be picked up by EDG in 6 months when he bombs out of CK.
I mean, you never know what mid laner EDG are going to buy next. Like, anyone who's shaken Faker's hand, EDG like to buy. But they won't be satisfied. But I imagine the EDG owner has like a Faker hug pillow that he sleeps with every single night. One day
I'll show.
Or like a shrine to Faker in his closet. His girlfriend comes in like, "What are you doing?" Like, nothing. He's got like bits of his hair and one of his jerseys. That like was like, "What happened to my hair? What happened to my jersey?" Like, EDG owner stole it. But yeah, like BDD can't live up to the hype, but he is a young, talented mid lane prospect in Korea that is steadily improving with more and more competitive play, and will, provided his career goes the correct way, like next year possibly be like a sort of top 2 mid laner in the world kind of thing, you know. So he does have a lot of promise to him, and he is steadily improving as well.
Yeah, he's great.
And he also can say, you know, he did bring a mid lane pick out of obscurity into the meta as well with Azir. He is still the best Azir player in the world, in Korea. So, you know, he's got a lot going for him, BDD.
Well, right now, Faker's kind of fighting for that right now.
You never count Faker when it comes to the best ex-champion.
Yeah, but
because
we actually last year, like, we're specifically saying that Faker Azir is not good, but look at him this year, like, is Azir way better.
I mean, look at Coco this year. Coco's Azir is not looking as great either. I mean, he's not able to make the plays they were talking about on the casts. He wasn't able to make there's no knock up. He can't play it like he used to play it, where you can knock up into the Emperor's Divide.
Yeah,
Faker does it.
Azir's more of a control base, so like a control base stroke assassin stroke, you know, like can't just jump into the team fight and assassinate everyone now.
Yeah, so anything else to say from this? I didn't really see too much. I mean, the first game was kind of close, and the second game was pretty much just completely destroyed.
Not much CJ.
Almost unbeatable.
Interestingly, in the interview that Kuro did with some Korean publication after the game, he did admit that his Azir has problems and that he does acknowledge it to be a champ. He said he basically said like he has a weird kind of like black spot for the champion where he just can't seem to like kind of get it to work in competitive play, and he doesn't quite understand why. Because he said it works all right in scrims. That's why they keep historically picking it. And he works all right in solo queue. It just never seems to work out for him in competitive. But he did say it has issues. So I was happy to see Kuro admit that he has issues because, like, ROX had to like first ban it both games.
I'll say they did ban it 2 games in a row. So
They ban it all the time now again. So it's not an issue for ROX since they still have so much star power, but it's annoying that the ban
really,
is Azir.
it
But
is only one champion.
it's not like they need the bans for themselves that much.
It's not like as well ROX could just put like a sort of like a really aggressive carry mid laner onto the team and like still and like there'd be a much better lineup. Like I mean, A, the team can't get much better than they're playing right now, and B, like, there's only so much resources on the map, and Spep and Peanut and Prey already take a fucking ton. So like Kurt's basically left with like, oh, unless he's on the. So.
Putting another like a person who wants to carry consistently on that team would be probably a disaster.
I think it would hurt them significantly more than it would, the potential downgrade. So, Kuro is the best mid laner for the ROX Tigers. By far, especially with the type of, especially with the way they play and stuff like that. So I kind of don't mind it. It's just shit, really.
Yep. Anything else to say about this game?
CJ's team fighting in game 1 was actually quite good, and I think that it showed how good ROX's team fighting is the sense that, CJ weren't quite on like an even standing when it came to team fighting, but both the teams played the team fight correctly, but normally CJ, against most other teams, CJ would have been able to engineer a comeback in game 1 based on how well they were team fighting, but ROX kind of sort of shut that one down basically, because game 1 wasn't that dominant from ROX early game. They had a small gold advantage, but it wasn't everything, and gold advantage isn't everything. You've got to look at it in more aspects to that as well. I mean, where the gold is and so on and so forth, who's scaling well, who's hit power spike, that kind of thing. But ROX definitely showed that it's not just their really strong early game that makes them such a good team, but it's also their tactical the way they play team fights and their tactical decisiveness as well, because they did everything correct in the mid and late game as well. But CJ did manage to hold on in quite a sort of formidable way, which is a credit to BDD and to Kramer as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was just surprised because we have seen CJ. I wasn't surprised, but we've seen CJ be able to team fight well with 10k deficits, and it was just kind of nice to see ROX really be able to stand up and show that they're able to team fight against.
Because CJ team fighting with like a 3k gold deficit, that's about as good as it gets for CJ Entus. Like that's that's the training weights off for them kind of thing. The training weights came off and they still couldn't manage to kind of out team fight ROX really. So
the biggest issue again I see just looking at the post game stats is like how much less goals Peanut Bubbling had compared to Peanut. Like all the other ones are like they're behind because they lost. But Bubbling was a fuck ton behind Peanut, so you just feel like they both are playing carry, like 80 carries actually in the jungle, but Bubbling was not able to do the same amount of damage and be as useful as Peanut was in team fights. I think that is also a major reason they lost the team fight.
It's a classic, it's just a big mismatch, isn't it? Like you got the objectively, somebody who's at the very least top 2 at his role in Korea versus somebody who is bottom 2 at his role in Korea on the top 8 teams. It is, and in some ways you could argue Bubbling might even be the worst jungler in LCK as well. So in terms of actually how he plays as a jungler, he's like he has that Clear Love thing in season 4 where like Clear Love wasn't a very good jungler, he just knew how to team fight really well, and that was what kind of got him out of his managed to hide his failings in season 4. Like Bubbling has the same thing, but he's even worse at farming the jungle and worse at map pressure, but he's alright in team fights kind of thing. So although I will say for CJ it's too late for them to bring in Daydream and try and see if that can turn the team around, because playoffs there's no more free games anymore to test out Daydream. Every game counts now. They need to just they're not. I think that right now they're falling out of playoff contention, so they need to get back into it. You know what I mean? So
they're statistically possible, but it's like
they have a real struggle to get if they want to make playoffs.
It's almost impossible.
So it's switching in Daydream at this point would just be, I think, a disaster, basically, and would kind of put the nail.
Right now doesn't have to look at playoffs, but just at next splits.
Yeah, I still think they can make it if they manage to have the series go their way and stuff like that. But
the issue is the best they can do is 10-8 at 0 points. No, and that's the issue.
Yeah, the whole issue, the whole issue is that, like, yeah, even if they win all their sets, it all depends on how the top teams do, and they all have to play against Kongdoo, which means that they pretty much all get a free win. And just in point differential, they're already guaranteed to beat CJ. Even if CJ managed to go 2-0 in all their series, they're still going to be behind all the other teams that are right now in playoffs. So it is statistically possible.
I just think that
Well,
the
it's
chance
statistically possible for any of the the 8 teams besides
yeah,
ROX
but
Tigers.
that pretty much
Kongdoo,
relies on Kongdoo to fucking win all their games.
yeah, I just think
Not
that,
very likely.
I just think that if because CJ can still technically make playoffs, they shouldn't mess around with Daydream on the roster. That's what.
No, I'm not saying they should swap out. I just say that they shouldn't like focus right now and like we have to make playoffs. I think they should just focus on improving their team and look at how they want to handle summer and
Yeah.
like
So-
idle hopes like are playoffs right now.
We can move on to day 2, onto Thursday's games, and I would say disappointment Thursday, with KT falling apart, Longzhu once again becoming this year's like Najin of switching players around randomly for
Well,
no reason,
Yeah, we can
No. like kind of rhyme or reason. So we saw Afreeca upset KT 2-1 after quite the convincing game one. Like game 1 was like, how are KT going to lose this series after that dominant game 1? How are they going to lose 2 games in a row?
Well, game 1 went fine because Score and Sunday managed to bounce off each other quite well, and they played quite well around each other. Game 2, like Score had like a couple of moments where he I think it was game 2. I obviously haven't watched the series for. Yeah, so game 2, Score was on Kindred, and there were a couple of moments where he lost a crucial duel, but he would flash in for it and then still lose the duel kind of thing. So we had the moment where he tried to gank somebody under the top tier
They're
turret.
trying to gank Ixu, and he got the passive heal on him.
Yeah,
He
he got,
W'd and passive healed him.
and then Lyra came up at just the right moment and managed to CC him for long enough, and they just kind of burst down. He didn't even pop his ultimate. But then if he popped his ultimate, he definitely would have got the kill on Ixu, as it were. So he kind of made
He would have died either way.
yeah, but he kind of flashed in for it, which is it's not very often we see Score make a poor judgment on an individual level, but he definitely made a couple in that game that cost them, and you saw his face afterwards. He looked pretty kind of bummed out at what he'd done. So that was part of the issue as well. Is KT is reliant on Score to kind of for them to
Facilitate.
for them to facilitate them as a team as well. And I think that Kennan's support pick by Snowflower and Afreeca as well kind of caught KT off guard, because I don't think they played against it often, because obviously they had the Callista Kennen lane, which is really, really, really strong in terms of how the two champions synergize with each other. So I think that kind of caught them off guard as well. So that was kind of what I thought about game 2. Realistically, I don't know what you think.
I think game 2, yeah, Afreeca was really able to snowball off of that failed turret dive, and then there was misplay after misplay, or just KT just not being able to get enough in
because
team fights to really make a difference.
Because when Score died to Ixu, Score died to the failed tower dive to Ixu, it was twofold, because A, Score got set behind himself, but B, he put Ixu ahead of Someday, which is it's a double problematic for KT, because they need Someday to be ahead. Someday's really good at snowballing gold advantages. He is not good at finding gold advantages and playing from a deficit. That is, I think, his weakness as a player. Obviously, he's all right at it, but he's not a low economy top laner. He's a high gold, high economy, high pressure top laner. So anyways, a carry. So I just think, and then as well, I don't get why teams give Mickey his Twisted Fate, but they did do it, and they kind of got punished for that as well, because Mickey was able to kind of be everywhere as well.
Because
That was
so much.
that was the catalyst of that turret dive, was Mickey Someday was dueling Ixu, and then he kind of got a bit minion trapped and took an extra turret hit. TF ported in, got the kill on Someday. He died to Fly, and then Ixu and Lyra were able to combine to kill Soak Score, and then Fly. I don't know if Fly died to that too, or if he got away from. I think he escaped from that, but like
Fly didn't die, but
it was a 1-for-2, and that really set the top ahead as Songhyu or the Callista Kennen were really pressuring
Yeah.
Arrow, because like the big story for KT on this too was just Hachani's garbage Nautilus.
yeah.
Like,
It's
if there's one game where you can make the meme of Hachani's terrible, this is the game, because he just
Hachani's good at
like terrible.
He's good at Alistair. He's all right at Thresh. Nothing.
His Trundle's fine. No, his Trundle's fine.
Everyone's Trundle's fine.
Yes, I would say because you pull stats from the other enemy's tank, you become tanky, and you can just walk around.
Trundle in support is the easiest shit ever to play. I'm sorry, like if you as long as you know like where to place a pillar and you know how to like click on somebody with your ultimate, like that's it. That's all there is to fucking Trundle. Like you're not even really reliant on melee attacks, is it? Like it's the most like sort of stupid support. Like every time I watch it, I'm like, this is the most low interaction, high reward support pick ever kind of thing. Like,
and yet it can do so much early and mid.
Yeah, exactly.
And even late game, it does tons.
That's why like Trundle support's kind of like stupid. But it's another example of like why is Hachani on this team? And then the worst part is Ignar's left now as well. So like.
They only have Hachani left. Ooh.
They only have Hachani. Like Hachani is the worst support player to ever play for KT, I would say. I mean, you think like they've had Maffa, they've had the worst like proper support player. Obviously, they had Ole and Destiny at one point, but both those guys didn't fucking last very long. But you think like Ignar, Peekaboo, and Hachani and Maffa are their big four. Hachani is by far the worst support player to ever play for KT because A, his mechanics aren't even that good, and B, his map movement is terrible.
Oh, yeah.
He has like such a horrendously low kill participation for a support player. So go look it up. It's not good.
The only one he had really good one was game 3 with the Thresh, and he was actually making some plays with the Thresh, but
that's what you have to do with Thresh. Like I remember Mithy said in an interview, I remember Mithy said in an interview, like Thresh is not a good champion unless you are like really, really fucking good with it, and like Hachani is like forced to pick Thresh because his champion pool is so low, but he's still not good enough to make the pick work because it's not an optimal pick right now.
I just can't believe they put him on the Nautilus. I mean, it was Nautilus over Alistair because Alistair wasn't banned, and Afreeca did ban the Trundle.
Yeah.
And he didn't really get any hooks with Nautilus. He kind of walked up to be able to snare someone with the auto attack, and then pretty much just straight up died. It was pretty poor performance there, and that was the biggest like. It was hard to watch that game for him. Everything else he did pretty decently, but.
I will say, I just looked up Hachani's kill participation. It's not actually that bad, but I just say that like when KT lose, that's when his kill participation kind of hits the floor, basically. And like in that game, like you go and look at the numbers, like I think in game 2 he had the lowest kill participation on his team. It's
they didn't have much kills in general, so
yeah, but Either way, it's just whenever I watch a Chinese move around, I never see him in the right place at the right time, kind of thing. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't think he's a good player. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that's true.
He's serviceable on a few champions, which is the issue. Is that in a league where you have a lot more supports that are actually able to do stuff and be more flexible on champions, him only being serviceable on the best champions at the moment is the real problem.
Yeah.
Is he's not going to he's not going to be like Mad Life on Bard. He doesn't have that. Everyone has Alistair. Everyone can play Alistair. You're not going to see him pull out the Bard. You're not going to see him pull out the Kennen, and even Snowflower can do that, which is the big liability.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about the series besides KT looking real bad? Is that their 3rd or 4th loss in a row?
I think they won a series.
I think they're second. I know they lost the week.
Oh no, this is their 2nd because they only played 2 games. They've only played 2 games the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, they
beat
beat
last week.
It's their third loss out of 4 games.
Well, they beat. Let's see. They beat Longzhu in week 9, and then they
They
beat.
beat Samsung in week 8. That's all they've won.
Oh,
It's the
no,
only
well,
games they've won.
Well, they beat SBENU in week 10.
Oh no, they beat Spain.
Oh,
So, but they lost. But they got their
Yeah,
they got their head caved in by Jin Air, so that wasn't good for them. But they did beat Samsung, so they're like 2-2. They beat Samsung, lost to Jin Air, beat Longzhu. I mean, they are 3-2 over the last 5 matches, but like it's more like they shouldn't really be losing to Afreeca Freaks. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a loss that should be happening. So,
That's the biggest issue.
like,
and they just looked poor the entire series. That was outside of game 1 where it was you could see the issue with Afreeca where they lost a few key fights and it was able to snowball slow, like they were able to snowball it the way KT normally does. Other than that, it was very poor performance.
It's also like taking a game off Afreeca Freaks is not an achievement. SBENU do that, you know. Kongdoo do that. Everybody they will give you a game for free every single time you play them. Like, I actually think it's Afreeca in a best of 1 like league would actually probably go like 0-15 or something, because they always shit the bed in a game. Like, it's the thing is like Afreeca Freaks right now, they're the wild card of LCK, because they can take a series off you if you aren't, like playing to your best. So they're likely to take a game off you. You know, they have the ability to take games off really good teams. And then it's like that third game, like KT did really well to try and come back in that third game. But why they got so far behind, I don't know. Like, how did they get so far behind to the point where they almost like had such a huge deficit. Like, they were like 2 inhibitors down, lost all their turrets, kind of thing. Afreeca just ran in and just attacked the Nexus basically, and that's how they won the game. Like, it's
what you should do.
I mean, that's what you should do in that situation. The Nexus is open. Let's not team fight them. Let's just run in and kill it. It's got like 500 health. Like,
I was waiting on that ending for 10 minutes. It's like just walk in, finish it.
I just don't. I never understand. I don't understand why KT get to that point, because it's not like Afreeca themselves play particularly well in game 3 either. It's like KT gave them a game. KT like messed up game 2, so they gained that game, and then they messed up game 3 as well. So it's like you messed up 2 games in a row. Like an Afreeca, as the wild card, you shouldn't be losing a game. They are the team that will trip you up. And so every series you lose to Afreeca is like a black spot on your record, kind of thing.
Yep. I mean, they've been that kind of the entire since they've existed in LCK.
Yeah,
they've really been. If you lose to them, your chances of playoffs become significantly more difficult to get into.
Yeah, you have to start. Like, SKT have lost the series at Afreeca, but they've managed to come up. They've managed to fight that back by winning a lot of series recently, kind of thing. Like,
and they beat them the last time they met.
Yeah, and you've got so it's like KT will still make playoffs, but
yes.
Why they're losing series to Afreeca Freaks this late on in the split, I don't know. Like, this is not the time to be losing series to Afreeca.
But Afreeca's been looking alright, and other than Sangyun, their roster looks pretty alright in terms of...
That's the issue, though, is like, Sangyun's carrying these games. I mean, the 2 games they won, he was carrying as in, like, statistically, he is carrying, like, if you look at those games,
damage, but
he has
is
all
by far
of the
also
kills.
his best champion. Like, that's
But just like,
that game 3 would have been over a lot quicker if he'd like manned up on the Lucian and like actually gone in, kind of thing. Like, he made some like really like. This is why I say like Sangyun's not a good player, even though he looks like he's all right. Is because he makes really poor decisions quite often, and he either runs straight into team fight and dies immediately, or he does that pilot thing, but like to a worse extent, where he doesn't really do any damage, or he doesn't do like enough damage to the right people in order, and just kind of dies in that aspect as well. He's like Sangyun's at best a serviceable AD carry, but in reality, Afreeca would probably need like a really elite level AD carry to make them actually a really good team, I think. So I would say he is the weakness of that team.
No, he is for sure. That was my point.
yeah, I would say it's also surprising that he's the weakness of the team, yet they're able to peel in order for him to be able to do damage, and they really picked themselves into, on that game 3, a Songhyun only damage comp, and yet they're still able to win it by simply peeling better than the other team can kill him.
Yeah, so here's the example I would give for Sang-Hyun. For people are struggling to understand, Sang-Hyun right now reminds me of how Steelback played on Fnatic in the spring split, in the sense of Steelback looked better than he was back then because his teammates did so much work to keep him alive, as it were, so he could just run in and clean everything up. It's like that for Sang-Hyun. The difference is can't play that way in the most competitive league in the world and expect to be an elite level team kind of thing. Like that's not how it's going to work. You know, you can argue this is the most competitive split we've ever seen in Korea. Like, this is not the time to have that kind of, you know, flaw to your team, is what I would say. Which, you know, if there was a team that could probably, you know, if you think about the teams that have got into LCK since it went from OGN champions to LCK and like the new organizations, obviously the 6 you know, Kesper teams, you know, so everyone that's not ROX and Afreeca, they've obviously been around, you know, since fucking, you know, were played in LoL champions. ROX, you know, came in off the back of loads of veterans. This Afreeca lineup is brand new in terms of none of them actually played in LoL champions, so they are the team that is best poised to like come through Korean Challenger and break into the top 8 and establish themselves as like a strong Korean, you know, organization. And they've got, you know, like the sponsor backing and that kind of thing got sponsor backing to a degree. So
For now.
Yeah,
for now.
I just look at that team and I think, like, in a sense, their lineup works because they're all friends and they trust each other a lot and whatnot. But I just think you just need to just cut Sang-Hyun off and get a really fucking good AD carry, and that would probably push them over the limit and make them a really dangerous team, I think.
Yeah, I would say that's the requirement for them to be better than just a spoiler is to change a couple players, but I don't see that really happening.
Also, Mickey needs to become more consistent as well. Like, there was a point in Game 3 where he was on Lulu and he TP'd from the top turret to the bottom team fight and he had like no mana, so he just like ran around auto-attacking people basically on Lulu. I was like, this is not going to work, is it? Like,
yeah, Mickey's a bit weird sometimes, but
he has these weird derps. Like, he's good. Mickey's an alright player, but he has these weird derps. You know what I mean? Like, he's not as bad as Sang-Hyun though.
yeah, you have some of those issues against the SBENU series later as well, and mostly in that series you notice how it's not. Sang-Hyun is a big part of them not being at all best, but the fact that they're not strategically enough to consistently close out leads and pressure their vision control enough so they can just easily close out games. It's what costs them always. So what end up them always having 3 games is just the fact that they have 1 game will just randomly throw away because they don't on a consistent basis know how to pressure their advantage by moving up their vision line and taking more objectives and doing something with the lead they have. So against SBENU there was really no reason to go to 3 games, but Afreeca was just, even in game 1 they had pretty poor vision, and in game 2 it cost them, and because Mickey then does something weird and they lose some fights, they managed to throw games away for no reason. That's also like a big issue I have with Afreeca right now. It's not just their players, but they're still don't have the strategic and adaptive that you expect from an elite Korean team.
Yeah.
I think that might be the most we've ever talked about Afreeca Freaks on this show. I think that's the
you should talk about them because there's the closest right now to actually making playoffs, which is fucking weird. But
yeah, I feel like we did as a show. We've kind of slept on Afreeca and like dismissed them and stuff like that, and like a little bit unduly. But
in the first,
I think we've always seen them as the dark horse.
Yeah.
Not dark horse, but like spoiler.
Yeah, but in the first part of this first part of the split, they weren't that dangerous to the actual top teams, and they even had issues winning games. But now they beat KT as well, so it's like, yeah, kind of have to talk about them. They are because I feel like Iksu and Lero have been stepping up more, and Snowflower is also a decent support. Like, they are more of a threat against top teams if they don't respect them enough and actually play a good game. Because like KT Afreeca series was not great, and if KT played at their usual top level, they should not lose even a game to Afreeca. But yeah, KT has been looking bad overall for a bit now.
I mean, they have 2 games each week for the following up. So I mean, they have some big games to play in order to secure their slot for playoffs. But anything else to say about this? to set?
I
Yeah,
just hope that KT managed to kind of get their stuff together in time for playoffs, so we actually have a really entertaining playoff run. Because I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I think that in LCK playoffs so far, there's been like 2 good series maybe. So I'm really hoping this time we actually get like a sort of like, I think the CJ versus SKT series in spring was good, and the KT versus ROX series in summer was good. Other than that, there haven't really been any series to write home about in playoffs so far. So I'm really hoping we actually get a really entertaining playoffs, even if the final itself isn't great, because there's a chance ROX will just dismantle them as a team.
Yeah, someone. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that at least the matches leading up to that, we get like 2 or 3 really good series, basically.
The big issue too is that the playoffs, we have 13 weeks of best of 3s, and then we have like a week and a half of 4 best of 5s.
Yeah, that's done. I always say this about the LCK format. Like, I do think that the how important your regular season placing is, and to how well it sets you up to do the playoffs, is good, in the sense that a team can't, like, it's very difficult for a team to just squeak it into playoffs and then have a mad playoff run. And then have like a good playoff run and find themselves in a final kind of thing. You'd have to have like a mental playoff run to just squeak yourself in. So in that sense, it makes the regular season very impactful. I just wish the playoffs just lasted a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Just a smidgen longer would, it's like you can't have it both ways. But like, maybe I would sacrifice regular season impactfulness if I got incredible playoffs. Like,
well, there is a chance that there would be less games played than weeks played in the playoffs. If all of them are 3-0s, you'd only have 12 games played in the playoffs for 13 weeks of regular season.
Yes, it is.
Hooray! Moving on to some more depression. SKT Longzhu and the depression of Longzhu. Just pick a fucking team and play with it.
So,
like, seriously.
I have a theory about Longzhu's constant switching out of players, basically. Although I don't actually think this is the case, so I do not think this is a reason. But I have a theory. It's a fun theory. That the reason Longzhu switch out their roster every single time, obviously they're funded by a streaming site. They want the most people to click on the streams of the players. That way, if they give every player game time, then fans will become used to every single player and want to watch the stream of every single player. Nailed it! That's the only reason why they can play this many players. That is the only reason I can think of when they play this many players. Either that, or the coach is like the most indecisive person in the world, who, like, when he wakes up in the morning goes, shall I have cereal or toast for breakfast? And then like puts toast in milk and like then puts some like some honey on it, and then like put some raisins in there. It's like, well, I guess I'll just have to do both. Like, he's one of those people. Like, and then he's like, shall I drive the car to work or shall I get the bus? So he drives his car to the bus stop. Then See, everything he does, he tries to do both. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only other thing I can think of. Like, there's a coach who refuses to pick one or the other, so just tries to do both.
No, if he would pick one team and it would be good, he would have more people watching the streams of their players, because they would be more popular.
Tell that to the Longzhu coach and maybe he'll listen.
Yeah, if they could win.
Yeah, exactly. That's not seeming likely anymore.
That game 2 is real bad. Like, by everyone on that team. It looked like ROX Tigers are playing game 2.
It actually did look like ROX Tigers playing, not game 2, not the meme about ROX Tigers playing, if you got rid of the nameplates, but...
it was dominant, and it was absolutely, like, the one death was, I was fighting a team fight, and I died.
Yeah, and like, as well, the worst part is like, Longzhu have one of the, like, I always say this, they have one of the most stacked rosters in the world, kind of thing. Like, the amount of talent they can put on a 5-man roster is ridiculous. So, like, they spend so much money transferring players around, and then they just play everyone. I don't know. It can't motivate players to play well as well. Like, it doesn't matter how well you play. If you lose, you're off. Even sometimes when they win, they're off anyway. Don't forget that series they played where the first team lost game 1, so then game 2 they switched everyone out. Game 2 they won, and then in game 3 they just brought everyone back anyway. Like, it can't motivate you to play well. Like,
yeah.
I really hope it doesn't continue into next, because Longzhu aren't going to make playoffs now. So I really hope it doesn't continue into the next week. Because this week they actually played the roster that I wanted to see, which was, well, I thought it was kind of there. It was Expression, Crash, Coco, Captain Jack, and Pure. I mean, I wanted to see Flame over Expression. That was kind of the roster I wanted to see. It was, you know, it was pretty close. And then in game 2, it was like Flame, Chaser,
Frozen Fury. It was like, what?
Okay, so there's no reason why Zeus should play any matches. There is absolutely no reason. Pure is a very serviceable support player. No reason. I've never seen Zeus do anything and be like, oh well, I understand why they put him in. Like he just kind of runs around, does nothing, and then dies. Captain Jack as well in his game 1 had a terrible game 1 as well. Like every single time he just like got one auto attack off and died in the team fight kind of thing. Like Faker just found him on Lysandra every single time and ulted him. It was actually quite funny to watch.
Yeah, and he bought the heals so late.
Yeah, there's a Lysandra and I keep getting one shot by it. I guess I better buy an Infinity Edge. That will help me deal with this Lysandra. It's like the logic of like, if I kill the Lysandra before it kills me, then I don't need to be defensive. Like, yes.
Horrible.
So what did you guys think of Blank's play here? 2 games on Kindred.
I think it's very serviceable on Kindred.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, right? Blank is improving as a jungler. However, Blank has probably one of the easiest teams in the fucking world to be the jungler for. Look at his fucking team. Like, look at the players. He's got 2 of the strongest solo. He's got like 3 of the best lanes in Korea. Like, that's your jungler's wet dream right there. Like, pretty much every game, all 3 of his lanes win lane. Like, that's the fucking, like, in that series as well, all 3 of his lanes won lane every single time. That's the fucking dream to jungle for kind of thing. Like, you know, and he still doesn't look as good as, he doesn't look anywhere near as good as Peanut when, you know, even when, like, in that situation the ROX Tigers get themselves into. So, like, Blank is improving as a player, but he has it he lives a pretty fucking cushy life as it is, like.
Of course. They'll be lucky to be drawn into the SKT team.
I mean, he went, what was it, 5-0-8 and then 2-0-8. I didn't really, like, there's nothing that sticks out in my mind of anything he's really done in that series to, like, oh, I remember him doing that. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, but the whole series was just like, Longzhu, like, just end it.
Longzhu not playing, yeah.
Longzhu kept, like, trying to go in and falling over on their face and then, like, putting their butthole open for Faker to slam one in, like.
Game 1 was Coco failing on Azir, and Game 2 was Faker showing how to play Azir and just destroyed.
Well, I mean, Coco could watch from the sideline, so.
You could watch from the sidelines how to play Azir.
The Korean BM of playing the champion they played the previous game really only works if you're playing the player that played it. Like, you're picking Azir and it's like, wait.
I think there's a world where
Frozen, not Coco.
Faker doesn't realise that they've swapped out the mid laner. I don't think he.
He probably plays without nameplate, so he might have not looked at the other boots. I was like, wait, we're playing versus Frozen? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, and the loading screen, like he's like alt tab to like a flash game, and he's sitting there just playing the flash game. And he's like, oh, I better get to the game and actually like play the game properly. It's just good plays the same. Like, I actually think, you know, like sometimes like these players like this big rivalry, it'll be all in their heads. Faker doesn't even know who they are, kind of thing. Like, like that great tweet by Theon where he was like Uzi at IEM, where he was like, it's you, my rival, to Faker, and then Faker's like, wait, who are you? And he's like, you played me at the World Championship final. And he's like, Prey? Like, no, it's Uzi. Like, oh, like, hi. Like, I think sometimes Faker doesn't even realize who the other player is, kind of thing. Like, it's just the way he plays the game. Every time he just plays the same. Probably the only person I'd ever say that's made a real impact to Faker and like kind of like pissed him off is Porn when he was like solo killing him over and over again. That's and then taunting him about it, where Faker was like, "Look at my fucking team, it's terrible. Look at yours, it's so amazing." Like,
I think EasyHoon might be even more of a, because he was on his goddamn team and it's clearly he is better at one champion.
Yeah.
One.
Can we just ban out that champion, please? No. He's going to play him over it. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Just because everyone and their mother was playing that one champion for that almost the entire meta, it was like, oh yeah, we're playing him. Second that is gone, it's like, oh yeah, why are we ever playing EasyHoon again? So, anything else to say about SKT versus Longzhu?
I just hope
Move on
Longzhu
to a.
downsize their roster next split, so they don't fucking switch out every fucking player.
Either
What-
downsize or just take a roster and stick with it.
Yeah, like I actually think they used to do what Najee did in the summer, which is take a roster and stick with it. It's just Najee picked the wrong roster to stick with. So Longzhu just need to pick but Longzhu Najee there isn't really a wrong roster for Longzhu to pick because their players are so good.
Very similar.
They just need to make the obvious decisions, i.e., Pure over what's his name, Zeus, and then just pick a roster and stick with it. Like that is the roster you play in every game, and just improve with that one goddamn team. What's the point of having two teams when you swap them around all the time?
I would just take Pure and Fury, and then just like the other three kind of are very similar-ish, and you might as well just slot whatever you want in, and then just go for almost a whole split.
Yeah.
See what happens.
You know that bit? There's a bit in Futurama where Bender goes to live with Fry goes to live with Bender in his robot apartments, and he's trying to eat dinner, and every 3 seconds the robots just get up and go change places, and then they all run around.
Robot prison.
Yeah, that's it. Robot prison. They'll just bash each other around. And and Brian just gets really wound up by this because obviously he can't sync with the robots. I feel like that's what it's like in the Longzhu training camp. Like after every scrim, it's like change places. Like one just moves over again. Like
Fury, they all just move one chair over. Fury has to play 80 mid lane now. Flame has to play support. Chase has to play top lane.
It's just musical chairs. Like who gets to be on which team every time kind of thing. Like the music stops. Oh, play a scrim. Get up again, play another scrim, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. But so Kongdoo ROX, this was pretty quick, except for game 2, which was not quick because they just picked the most BM fucking comp they could.
Oh god, yes.
It was just, hey, we're all gonna pick damage, and then we're all gonna kill you, and then it's almost like it didn't work.
Yeah, I was watching when you play normals and nobody picks a tank and you're like, how are we going to initiate this game? How are we going to turret dive? Oh well, it's normal, we'll just play it and just have a bit of fun. I feel like that was what happened in game 2. Spem just locks in gang. Everyone's like, oh yeah, so maybe you're going to play a tank now. No, gangplank. It was, it was the game ended abruptly, and I do feel like Kongdoo kind of got cheated a bit out of that game lost kind of thing, but ROX was so BMing, it was unreal kind of thing. It would have been almost good to see ROX lose, to go get their comeuppance, but
they kind of had it. That game was so dumb. It's Jin is so good versus non-tank teams, and then but Soul was so bad at it that he only finally did one good team fight where he actually started auto-attacking the ROX Tigers. So you're not gonna do damage by just ulting the squishies. Just go in and auto-attack fucking 4 times, and you already killed 3 people. When he finally did it, then I thought, okay, they're actually gonna end out, but then pray with the hero save, and then the game was over. Well, if you were better at playing Jin, you could have probably won the game earlier than that, not to fuck it up. Plus, why did it, they could have perfectly killed Prey. I don't get how Prey just got to kill all of them. Dude, just auto-attack Prey and he's dead.
Yeah, it was
gotta kill objective.
That game was a bit of a I don't really like the term clown fiesta because it's obviously overused, but that game was a clown fiesta.
It was just pure BM.
From the beginning, when you saw the comp, you're like, how is this gonna work?
Yeah. I feel like ROX are the reincarnation of Samsung White at World Championships, where they just pick the most BM shit they can get. I'm so waiting for them to get to international play and then just pick something completely outrageous in their best of 5 series against a Western team. I think it's got no chance of winning whatsoever. Nami and fucking just bring out all this ridiculous.
They'd pick retarded more, just pick Gangplank with support.
Yeah, Kuro picks Zed mid, what's it all gonna do with this? In the loading screens, it's alright, which skill do I max on Zed first these days? Fuck's sakes, mate.
I'm gonna skill W first.
Yeah.
So anything else to really say about that? Besides that the game 2 was a shit show, game 1 was an utterly crushing victory.
Like Crushing Picture has some weird champions. But
Yeah, the good thing for ROX is that they don't try and style on teams that aren't the bottom two, so it's not as bad as Samsung White were, where they were like trying to style on people in fucking playoffs. Like, what's wrong with
they
you?
were experimenting in one with the Kessin build, which I liked quite a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, it was okay. I'm still not convinced about Kessin, but you know they made it work.
Kura
And
is
game
really
two
good.
was just full BM.
Kura is a really good Kassadin as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
It's actually like
That's true.
historically one of his best picks, really. So
Well, they got the early pressure and got to really kill Edge a couple times early to let Cassidy get ahead. So
Yeah. Else?
not much to say. I mean, that was a pretty comprehensive stop. Samsung Jin Air. Thank God it did not last as long as the last Samsung Jin Air series. And game one, let's just go by game because this is much more of an interesting series, I'd say. We had Ambition getting fucking Graves again.
Graves. Like, so one thing they had to do is ban Graves. No, let's ban Nidalee and Kindred and then ban Graves. Why? Like his Kindred is not even that good. It's okay. It's like okay, he won against fucking ROX with it, but it was purely because ROX had a horrible comp. They could not play with. Curse not good as either player.
I like the idea that as soon as like 10 minutes into the game, like the coach is sitting there talking to you, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're meant to ban Graves, won't we? Oh yeah, shit! Like fuck, forgot to ban it."
Yeah,
Oh.
sure. Okay, Wing got lead, but that's
Look at the
not
build.
point.
He went Ruby Side Stone,
Yeah.
QSS. Like you can't.
Winged had a good game, and Wing played that Lee Sin like well. Like I think he missed one Q the entire game, kind of thing. Like
Yeah, but
But you
does
can't
so
just do
little.
utility build.
Yeah, that's
he was not the reason they lost that game. 100% not.
No, but Ambition was the reason that Samsung won the game, which is
Yes.
their.
But what the fuck is the point of the QSS?
It's not Wing's fault. His coach is telling him not to ban
Well, no,
Graves,
but
is it? Like
It's an opposite.
I understand it's not
direction.
Wing's fault. I'm just saying his fucking item build didn't help.
Yeah, it was fucking random as shit.
I think
It's just like I'm gonna open up the shop and just fucking pick whatever.
I thought it was all right personally, but
You don't build QSS and listen. That's not. I mean, unless you really unless you felt that you needed to get the crown, which wasn't able to do much anyway. It's a random shit.
It just seemed unnecessary to me.
But yeah, I'm not
Cruzan
blaming
and Pilot
him.
weren't able to follow through with the damage.
Yeah, it's more the fact that Pilot just couldn't fucking stand up when you have to fucking go against triple AD carry. He can't out-sustain all of them, and they have so much burst with Graves on top of the already high burst damage of Corky and the poke from Ferris. Yeah, fucking win that.
I would also say that, like, I mean, on some levels, I think the mid lane match, because you saw in game 2 when it was Kuzan's Lissandra versus Crown's Lulu, like Kuzan like pretty handily won that lane kind of thing. Like got a few solo kills off, like it was actually kind of like really nice play, like you know, and that kind of like helped Jin Air snowball into the game. So like to see Jin Air ban Lulu in the game 1 and then Crown gets Corky, like that was a bit for me like a kind of an oversight.
Crown was playing first, or Gorgeous J.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, but you know what I mean, like to ban the Lulu when in reality, like they had no problem dealing with the Lulu was a bit suspect to me, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the whole generic bans were a bit weird.
Yeah, I don't want to blame it all on draft phase because obviously there's a lot more fucking to this game than draft phase. It's very rare that a game is entirely decided in the draft phase.
If you're gonna ban 2 junglers, you might as well ban the third. Like,
well, might
it's
as
just
well
such
ban
a half
his
measure. It's like let's ban 2 of the 3 junglers who's really good and can play.
I think they have some weird scrims in Korea, where like if you actually look at all professional games they play, it's clearly Graves is his best champion. But for some reason, everybody prioritizes Nidalee and Kennedy before they ban Graves from Ambition, which is I don't know what he does in scrims, but in actual games he does way more in Graves than he does in the other 2. Which is, well, I mean in game 3 they banned all 3.
They learned just too late. I mean, game 2 is pretty comprehensively another spank. Trace played a lot better on the Poppy. His Nautilus lacked quite a bit. I mean, it was with his team too. He didn't have as much space, but he had one teleport where he teleported in, and then they knew he teleported, and he's like, "Oh, gotta back out now." It's just kind of they constantly were blowing their teleports.
The problem with like the Nautilus versus Maokai matchup is it's like impossible for either player to gain any kind of an edge because like you just keep like healing off each other basically kind of thing. Like and then you both run out of mana and it's gotta go B then. Like there's nothing really going on up there kind of thing and like you know and then Trace was like locking people down, alright, but like there was no real damage on the Jin Air like like there was no real sort of like punch. He was locking people down, but there was no one to like kind of actually kill them realistically. Like so I think that was a problem. Like Jin Air played some of those team fights like theoretically well, but like they just kind of lacked that like kind of like that punch that kind of got them the actual execution kind of thing.
But the point is like Callista's good against a low damage comps with a lot of tanky guys that she can just keep herself sustained until eventually kills them, but against Triple AD it's so hard to do anything because if you go in they will just try and murder you straight out and not let you have any chance of sustaining back up. And you down on burst, you have sustained damage with Calista.
Can't dodge auto attacks, can you? Those things are targeted.
Definitely great shot attacks. They do so much damage.
He didn't even go Maw to try and shove off some of the burst from Crown.
Yeah, Crown it's AD. Maw is not gonna help against a fucking.
Well, isn't the E magic and the R for him?
R is magic, but E and Q are his main damage abilities are both physical. Yeah. So plus the other attacks are physical. Okay. No. His W is
I mean, I guess it's not as big then. Maybe the Sterix gauge might have been helpful.
Gauge would have been more helpful, but yeah, he didn't feel like that was.
I just don't think the last BF sword would have been like, I need more damage, but you die.
Yeah.
And then game 3. What did you guys think of the game 3? The craziness of attempted throw, like just terrible lane swap by both teams. No one took an advantage, and the other team presented the ability to take an advantage. Like they did the lane swaps like terribly, and they both ended it by just giving each other. Turrets.
That moment where Ambition died at the bottom turret, I was like, what's going on here? Like, Ambition, are you drunk? Like, go home, Ambition, you're drunk. It was a bit, that's an old meme for everyone watching, but again, like, you watch these teams and they're both good at team fighting, so in a sense, it's nice to watch because you get some good team fighting, but like the game was like pretty low kill anyway, so it was kind of like a slow sort of back and forth and like neither team kind of really like pressed the issue enough, and then Jin Air gave up a Baron, and it was just kind of a bit all over the shop, really. Like,
yeah, they give up a Baron. Like, the way Samsung likes to play with this comp is just like they're playing pop comps.
Yeah.
Don't give up that Baron at any point. This should be fine with. Like, Ambitious making his team work because they've been 3 champions against him while Crown again just got to play Varus, which they already had issues with in game 1, which they fucking know that they used pretty effectively against SBENU. It was like Ambitious making it work because for some reason he gets 3 fucking champions playing against him. Well, I think 1 is more than enough.
The lucky thing for Jin Air is obviously because KT lost the series as well, it doesn't really harm their ability to come second in the playoffs. So
no. SKT is going to pass them.
You think?
Yes.
Okay. But at least in terms of like, there's no chance of KT passing them either.
No, because KT is not looking too great either.
So, in that aspect, it's all right for Jin Air, but this is like I keep predicting Jin Air to win and they keep losing. I'm like, this is really annoying now. Like, can they just actually last week I predicted them to beat Samsung. The week before that I predicted them to beat SKT. Like, can they just fucking win a series, please? Like,
well, you made the joke last week if it was the fastest glad plane or sad plane into glad plane you've seen, and it was like, nope, right back to sad plane.
Yeah, like stop being sad plane, please.
Stuck in sad plane mode right now.
Yeah, and that one series against CJ where they looked pretty good, but then CJ like lost 2 series. I mean, they lost to SKT and ROX, so you can't blame them too heavily, but. Yeah,
Jin Air played the same comp like 3 games in a row and just.
Yep.
Maybe the sad plane is truly in motion now.
Let's hope not. Is that, I mean,
for the 12 Jin Air fans out there.
Well, not just that, but you see the top 5 teams. It's going to make some of the playoff sets hopefully not really
Yeah,
disappointing.
two of those teams are not doing too great right now. And the other team, Samsung.
The other team is Samsung, super dependent on a champion. Anything else to say about the Samsung Jin Air set? I mean, it was pretty much two. They kind of took turns beating each other up, and then the third game they tried to like hand it off to each other, and neither would take it until finally Samsung was able to actually win. Yeah, Crown
was
won
a
it.
beast in that series.
Yeah, again, it was like Crown's.
Zulu was not great, but
I love watching Crown's Varus so much. He's so good with those skill shots. Like he lands them so well.
And, yeah.
Speaking of Crown, there was an interesting interview with Crown published this week, where it was like a sort of not career review, but it talked about like his origin as a pro gamer and stuff like that. I didn't know that Crown was a StarCraft Brood War trainee, but he was. He used to be on STX Seoul with Duke. They were both trainees at the same time, and they both got into League of Legends at the same time as well. And Duke is the one that convinced Crown to play League of Legends. Crown said the first time he played League of Legends, he played one game and then rage quitted and didn't touch it again for 2 weeks. And then because he thought it was 5v5 and he didn't like how he couldn't do anything on his own. And then he got more and more into it because it was the only game left him to play. And he also, Crown talked about how Jaedong was a really big like inspiration to him, and like he thanked Jaedong in the interview and said that he's his idol, as it were. So it's actually quite a good read. So I think SBENU, obviously if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should, because that's where you read a lot of like really good Korean interviews, because he translates like 4 a day. It's ridiculous. So I would actually recommend going and looking that one up, because it is really, really good. I think I retweeted it as well, so just scroll down a bit.
It was also interesting to see Kuve kind of beat Trace twice, same matchup, like 2 games in a row.
Yeah, Kuve is a good player, I think.
He has kind of stepped up too. I mean, he's not a carry really for the team outside of the Lysandra play, which kind of has faded from top lane.
No, well, Samsung's carries are Ambition and Crown. Realistically, like they're kind of unique in that aspect, in the sense they're so mid lane jungle focused, and like the top and AD. Like this is why when Samsung put everything onto Core JJ, which is what they tried to do in game 2, it just doesn't really work out for them. Like they played the Lelouch comp, as it was known when Lucian first came out, and it just didn't really work like for them. I mean, obviously, Crown got rocked in the mid lane by Kuzan's Lysandra as well. That obviously didn't help, but
yeah, those are very easy memes to make. Like game 1, like, oh, Invasion got Graves. What surprise they're gonna win team fights. Yeah. Game 2, oh, you expect Core JJ to carry you. Well, that has never happened before.
Yeah.
So
stop relying on it.
Core JJ is all right, but he's not, but he's not like a premier Korean AD carry that can carry games kind of thing. Like he is just.
I mean, we've said it the whole time. Like Core JJ and Stitch are too similar to really have one kind of go off. There's no real difference.
Obviously, I think Core JJ is better than Stitch, but I mean, let me look it up 1 second. Has Core JJ what? Core JJ has 200 MVP points at this point. He has basically none. He's in like joint 21st with like 7 other people.
Sengyun has more MVP points.
No, sorry, he's joint 29th. Sorry.
I find it hilarious that Sengyun has more MVP points than Mickey.
Once you go below like 500 points, it kind of starts to bloat.
It's just so many points that was the real difference.
Yep.
Jesus. But he has
really
been playing.
He
has stepped up. Like.
Yeah, Core JJ has the same number of MVP points as Pilot.
Well, yeah, it's not that part that does much for the team, other than being.
Not really. I mean, Kuzan and Trace are the ones that really step up for their team.
Yeah.
We have the issue with the top teams and other than ROX, but Prey always has damage in his own right. That's a difference. But for the top 5 teams you're gonna see in playoffs, the teams that don't have a good AD carry are not gonna do very well. I feel in the playoffs. And Prey's not a bad AD carry. I mean, he's not like a superstar AD carry in my opinion, but he knows how to play his role. It's well, I feel like where other teams rely on their AD carry to do much, they're not doing it. Like I don't see Pilot necessarily be the carry. Like for CJ they do, but they're not gonna make playoffs. But then we have KT, they have Arrow, is like half and half the time he knows how to step up, and and we also have Samsung, which again the scored out stage, like they can't carry from the AD carry role the way they sometimes should in the team fights and the way they do their damage. Well, the only ones I see doing that right now are Prey, Bang, and Kramer overall, which is an issue because with the fact that we're changing back to the top lane meta for the tanks, you need either your now they have the advantage that junglers can sometimes do it because junglers again they play the carry sometimes, but in general you need your AD carry to know how to deal damage in team fights, to know how to correctly build for the situation. I feel a lot of the top 5 teams, top 6 teams, like half of them don't have good AD carries that can do that, which will cost them playoffs. And I think you'll see that when the playoffs come around. That the reason why SKT and ROX are just going to be so much better is just because they have an AD carry that knows how to play team fights and how to do damage. And it's going to be a major issue. It's like I feel like that's also a reason why SKT should be stepping up, like they clean up their own game. And that's why CJ is so good in comparison to most of the other teams. Like it's like because they have a good AD carry and fucking like when they get to late game, like most other AD carries just don't fucking know how to deal with it, and then you have Kramer just being a beast to all other AD carries. So there's like, I think that I didn't follow Kramer much in LMS, but I think that is maybe one of the reasons. Like last year, that was not really the case. Kramer was probably always the smart guy that knew how to team fight late game, and they never got there in his team. But I think now with CJ and the way the meta changed back to AD carries primarily being good mid-late game, or having to carry mid-late game while not having too much early game, that's what main reason, other than the fact that he gets way too much goals, is being such a revelation, because you wouldn't have expect this guy to be this good looking at last year's performance.
I will say LMS fans cheer for Kramer a lot on Twitter. They're all rallying behind him. They all love that he's doing really well. Yes. I mean, you know, obviously you would do, like.
Very good. Alright, so SKT CJ.
SKT CJ, where we had, again, Faker pull out the Azir.
This was so frustrating for me because I predicted CJ would win last week and I got fucking the red caved in. I was so pissed off. I was like, oh.
So this one, did you guys think Bubbling got out jungled by Blank?
Yes.
Yes.
That made me very sad.
But like this might say like Blank has improved, and once again like Bubbling this week it's a major issue for that team. Because
not just
they should have been able to snowball the first game because Fake was playing a bit too aggressive like he usually does, and BDD got that solo kill and added a lot of pressure, but then Blank just was able to always. Like, Faker always has the jungle backup to make sure that even if he falls a bit behind or even Wolf comes to his lane, that he still is relevant in the game, in the mid game, and doesn't get completely snowballed over. Well, Bubbling should really have helped BDD, and like they could have done something at the game. BDD was just so slow. I don't know. I know BDD, I mean Bubbling. Bubbling. So, yeah, no. Sad serious for CJ.
What did you think, Sam?
I think that Kramer had he was at a shit situation with his team because they just got the red caved in early, and obviously AD carries a mid to late game focused role, and in a sense he didn't lose in the series, but obviously he didn't do what I normally expect Kramer to do. He didn't go off in any of the games. And then the other issue as well, especially in the game 2, like Faker drew so much mid lane pressure that like it kind of just let Bang and Duke just kind of chill basically, and that basically Faker drew so much mid lane pressure but didn't really get behind from it, which helped them out a lot. So
yeah, like in game 2, Kramer just got left alone. Like it was like you feel like when you were watching that. Like when you were actually watching the game, that's a game 2 was like everybody was paying attention to mid lane because there were constantly 4 or 5 people in mid lane, and then you had Kramer in bot lane, and Bang was like, oh look, free kills.
Yeah.
And then Bang just like got so far ahead.
Yeah, and the other issue I would say as well is like when I predicted that CJ would beat Samsung. I predicted that they would go to a late game and then CJ would be able to show like their team fighting prowess. But it was like a nightmare situation for CJ where they didn't even get any. They didn't even really get a good, get a good chance to team fight properly in this whole series. They basically like kind of,
Yeah, no.
it was so quick. And, like I will say, it was really impressive from SKT because it was so quick and decisive from SKT, and was actually probably one of the best series that SKT have played in the playoffs in terms of like, convincing me that they are not back in terms of like, think they should,
They have at least reached a point where they can be consistently successful against better,
that's
against
the thing.
good
yeah,
teams.
like you think, like there was a time when we thought Jin Air was the second best team in Korea, then we thought it was KT. It probably is SKT now, realistically. I mean,
For me,
you won't know for sure until playoffs, but if I had to say right now, I would probably say it was SKT, which is, when you think about a lot of the issues this team has had so far, then that's really impressive from SKT's perspective. I do think IEM World Championship helped out SKT like a lot in terms of it gave them like an easy tournament, well, not an easy tournament. It gave them the opportunity to. Okay, all right. I'll be honest. It gave them an easy tournament to win, which boosted their confidence right up, and therefore like allowed the team to fix a lot of issues. It also allowed them to integrate Blank into the team really easily because it gave them a lot of stage time with Blank, which I think he desperately needed because they kept trying to put him in and he kept just playing terribly.
Well, he also went to a sports psychologist. I believe so. Like, to get rid of his stage fright. So.
Yeah, so props to the SKT coaching staff for that one. I mean, I do think the SKT coaching staff had their own issues throughout the split, and I do think that overall they've managed to kind of fix it towards the end. I do think if you look at their roster, it's like it shouldn't have been that fucking difficult for them to, be there, get to where they are, because they do have, I would say that the three best rosters in Korea are Longzhu, SKT, and ROX. So, like, I mean, with Longzhu having, switching every player every 10 seconds, it feels like in that sense, like this, but I just think that like SKT just played such a high impact early game, and then Faker like played really, really well. Like you kind of just saw that like this is the issue when you've got like a brand new rookie mid lane and you put them up against Faker, is the fact that like they can just feel really good pressure. Like I'm sure in solo queue BD is fine against Faker, but it's different beast in competitive play. And
he did fine early, but the moment you got a mid late game, like Faker just had his number. Like every time BD even tried to get close to teamfight, Faker just kept him out. Like he was really dominant. Like I feel like in game 1 they never just got a teamfight just because BD was looking for a flank, but just never was able to get one. And
they tried that pick up in the top bush in the blue side top jungle when SKT took Baron, and they're just like they were waiting for someone to collect the wave and get the pick and try and like get the Baron off of that. CJ was, and then SKT just went in through an area they didn't have warded, took Baron, and was like, oh hey, time to kill Bard.
Yeah. So like in a sense, SKT played really well, and it was good to see them play like. Well, not good for me personally, but at least good for SKT fans. I mean, I'll be honest on this thing. I don't really enjoy it when SKT win. I quite enjoy it when they lose. I enjoy it when every popular team loses. Hate me if you want. But yeah, so I just and then like with all this pressure in mid lane as well. Like I always talk about the 1-2 punch in SKT, which is Faker and Bang, like this sort of dynamic carry duo that play really well off each other and stuff like that. And then it's like Duke knows his role, I think, a lot better on the current SKT lineup than he did when he came in, and like he knows how to play around it. He's really changed from that high economy split pushing top lane. It's more of a low economy, like sort of diversion disruptor kind of top lane. I mean, a lot of these are jargon buzzwords, but hey, they work.
Most Korean top laners just playing tanks right now and doing his best, which is good. He knows how to play.
As it becomes more tanks too, it's a bit easier to align a tank into your team when you just need to tell him to teleport and he responds to that.
Yeah, I mean, you think at the start of the split there was a lot of Graves and Quinn in the top lane, and a lot more like even Lysandra, and there were a lot more sort of carries, like actual carries in the top lane. Whereas now it's more of a tank meta, and I think that suits Duke better as this series has gone on. So in a sense, SKT have kind of, you know, had a few like meta changes and stuff like that, but they did have to make a roster change in order to align with the meta in terms of swapping out their sort of utility jungler for a more carry orientated jungler. So
that was something else, I think. But yeah, it does help because their core is Bang Faker, and that, like I said, those are the main carry roles right now. So it helps that Duke can just play tanks right now. Even though I don't think he was playing that bad on the carries, it was just they were still integrating him.
The reason I don't like, I think that, you know, the SKT coaching staff are really, really good. I mean, but I think the all Korean coaching staff is really good. You know what I mean? Like, I think, but the reason I don't think this has been the SKT coaching staff's proudest split is because they have faced a lot of issues, and then it's like you look like I understood some of the issues they faced in 2014 because it was like you looked at their roster at times and it was like, what the fuck is this team kind of thing? The one with like Piglet, Impact, Bengi, and Mandu kind of thing. I was like, ugh. And like, I think they held on to their players too much and stuff like that. And the reason I'm not giving them so much credit now is like they're really relying on Bang and Faker being fucking amazing players. And it's like that doesn't tell me the coaching staff are like that's not the coaching staff that are making them fucking incredible players. Like that's the coaching staff are setting them up to be amazing players, but it still relies them being, you know, great players. Where when I compare them to like the CJ coaching staff, for example, who've shown their ability to come in with a bunch of fucking rookies, like at the start, like Antara was like, oh yeah, at the start it was like Mad Life and the kids, basically. Like, and you think of like some of the growth that the CJ players have made as the split's gone on and how they've managed to find a team identity and work around their deficits and stuff like that. And then you look at what the CJ coaches have to work with and what the SKT coaches have to work with, like it's a different ball game. So that's why I'm not saying like, you know, the SKT. I'm not giving SKT coaching staff too much props, but I do think that they played really well in this series, and I think that a lot of it was just Faker really kind of going off, but then Bang as well going like. So it's that again that 1-2 punch I talk about.
Yeah, like looks like game 2, like everybody focused Faker, like all attention was on Faker, but meanwhile Bang was getting all the kills, all the money, and then when team fights came around, they just destroyed everything because he was so rich. So.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think of like the two weakest lineups Faker has played on, I mean, it really has to be the 2014. Again, obviously that lineup was great in 2013, but it was not so great in 2014. So, you know, you think of the two different timelines. Like, the issue in 2014 was everyone focused Faker and there was no one to pick up the slack. The issue now is that people focus Faker and then Bang picks up the slack. So that's where the difference goes, kind of thing. So, you know, props to Bang as well as Faker really in this series.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy watching how much they would expend just to try and kill Faker in this game.
And obviously,
just let Bang auto attack them to death with ricochet crits.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, when anyone makes a prediction, I mean, you know, I know no one really cares that I predicted SKT would lose because I predict every time I think SKT might lose. Like, it's because I want, you know, you always imprint what you want to happen to then you think like that might actually happen. So that's my own bias showing through. But I do think that if it had managed to go to late game team fight, CJ might have been able to put more of a fight. But SKT didn't even let it get anywhere close to that, which, you know, props to them for that. Realistically, they recognized the weakness in CJ and they pushed the issue really, really well.
Oh,
yeah, they played very well, and that the Fizz pick was very left field. I don't think they were expecting the Fizz to come out.
Yeah, it was very efficient. Even though Fake was not always correct, I love how they used Flash, like you used Flash Q to apply the instant ult, because he caught bubbling off guard the first time like that. Like just he went back and then he knew he had backup coming and instantly flashed back to apply the ult. Interesting. I mean, it's always nice to see that Faker can still just randomly pick up a champion. Like he did play it before, but it's not. I don't feel like he's practicing in scrims a lot.
Yeah, I also like. I mean, you also when you think of Fizz as a champion, it's not a pick that Korean teams have, you know, like trended towards in the same way that you see it in other regions. Like I think the only two like really big Fizz players in Korea have been Pawn and I guess, you know, Faker kind of thing. So it is, you know, refreshing to see him be good on a pick that, you know, not really anyone else in Korea is playing.
Yep.
So it's a lot of fun to see him play Fizz, even if he did kind of get focused a lot, which lowered his amount of game impact, but then Bang picks up the slack. So
well, game if you have concept to have 3 people mid lane just to make sure BD doesn't die.
That is a lot of impact. Like.
I think you're doing more than enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last series we have SBENU Afreeca. What did you guys think? Anything to write home about, or
Africa
you
needs
saw
to reward
flawless win on Rek'Sai?
Well, it was more like, oh yeah, Africa was ahead, and then stopped doing things, and Mickey just suddenly started getting caught, and like the only thing they have to do is continue press their vision line, get more objectives, and close out the game. But they just run around the map, and like that was also the second game that week, like that day as well. That the mid laner went Dark Seal. It was like, oh yeah, we're winning super easily. But unlike SKT, like they didn't close it out. They just fucking threw the game afterwards, and then lost their entire leads. And lost the game in the end. Africa had just had all the opportunities to cleanly throw out that game, but because they never fucking put more vision wards and just wards in general, they just throw it. And then game 3, that I didn't even want to watch too much of game 3 because it was it's annoying. You have to watch always 3 games to Africa just because they themselves do not realize how to just close out a game.
That is the worst thing about watching Afreeca play, like SBENU or Kongdoo, is that you know that you'll get a third game there because they will decide to just lose a game. So
Give it away. At least give away at least one of them.
I don't have too much to say on Afreeca anymore. I think we've talked about them.
And we talked
mammoth amount on this team, so on this show rather.
For a team that is barely deserving of notoriety, I mean they can win some games, but if you lose to them, it's more of an embarrassment to you than it is like.
Yeah,
they won.
If they start touring teams, then we'll stop talk more about them. But
I think Afreeca are about as good as you could expect a sort of a lower team to be in Korea. But whenever I watch them play, I think they could be a better team in Korea, and they could actually make the league just that little bit more competitive.
They did a few more things.
Yeah. If the
but
coaching staff would, if they would play it more seriously, because they still have the most random shit, which I think there's no way coaching has anything to do with this. And if they get another AD carry, that team could become a lot better. But right now, I still don't feel like they 100% are strict enough to say oh yeah, we want to win champions. So they're just.
No, they need to get Hichani back as their coach.
Oh god.
Just so he's not a player.
Win-win.
If it just takes Hichani to get a job other than being pro gamer, I mean, I'm sure I can get him a job at my work if he needs something else to do with his time, kind of thing. You get to live in the UK, you won't have to be a pro league license player anymore. Think about it, Hichani. I know you watch this show.
Free the Pickaboo. I mean, we get to watch 4 more games of Afreeca before the end of the season, so 4 more sets of them at least. I don't mean 4 more games because
it'll be 6 more games.
It'll be because they're
12.
They're not going to get 2-0'd.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
more games.
6, 12 more.
It's 6. We got 9, 10, 11. I think they'll get 2-0'd by ROX next week.
Oh yeah, probably so. 11.
So we can move on to predictions. I mean, this hasn't been too. There's not too much of a real shake-up from this week at all, really.
No, I just got. Well, CJ now completely dropped out of playoff contention because they lost coach.
I mean, KT and Jin Air both lost, so they really just they just stayed still as SKT started to catch up.
This is I guess.
I actually think week 12 is actually in terms of sort of how many good series you could get is actually better than sort of the average because I mean, A, SBENU and Kongdoo each only play one series this week, and then B, both the series that Afreeca play are versus they play one series versus ROX, which will, and then they play a series versus Jin Air. So in that aspect, you don't even have to watch Afreeca play Kongdoo or SBENU. So I actually think this is there'll be entertainment factor in pretty much every series, I think, which is rare for.
Got a lot of middle of the pack teams playing each other.
Yeah,
but real fight for the last fight for the playoffs.
Yeah, but then middle of the pack teams is the bread and butter of exciting Korean League of Legends kind of thing. Not every thing is top teams battling out kind of thing. So, and plus the middle of the pack is so fucking large in Korea. It goes from SKT all the way down to fucking to CJ. So sorry. Yeah, keep forgetting Longzhu worse than CJ. Yeah, it goes from
all the way
worse than Africa.
Yeah, it goes from SKT all the way down to Longzhu when you're talking middle of the pack teams. Now, obviously, there is a disparity in the middle of the pack, but while none of them are able to really contend with ROX, they're all unfortunately middle of the pack teams.
Yeah,
Especially
so
since they all pass around the second best hat every week. Like, you this week you could be the second best, you could be the second best.
I mean, look at the team. SKT is the one, other than ROX, consistent team from the top right now. Well, it's kind of Samsung as well. Well, they lost to. Well, actually, they lost. Wait.
SKT is the only other team that's playing consistently this.
Oh yeah,
this
Samsung
round.
lost to Afreeca. So.
Yeah.
So we have ROX Tigers versus KT. I think this is going to be a 2-0 ROX,
Yeah,
unless KT turns their shit around, and then it'll be a 2-1 for ROX.
Yeah, at best.
Last time they played, KT did manage to take a game, and it was actually a pretty close series. But I think ROX have actually improved a lot since their first few weeks, and I think
Yeah, that was still like the beginning, and they're still pretty unbeatable even.
yeah. And obviously, even though KT have improved, they have not improved at all the same level that ROX have improved. So I actually think this will be like a really decisive 2-0 from ROX. I would like to see KT take a game because I do want to see KT do well. Because I like the way that KT play when they're a good team. But yeah, I don't think they will.
But even ROX went 2-1 against Afreeca. Jesus, how did they do that?
Afreeca wildcard bitches. Someone needs to take that gif of the guy from Horrible Bosses where he like jumps out the back, stands up in the back of the car and is like, wow, car bitches, and then jumps out the car. They need to get the Afreeca logo on that face so that I can spam it every time Afreeca play, like, wow, car bitches, and then jumps out. Or,
to anyone watching, it's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, or another one for you. So when England played Germany, there's the Mario Gomez button that you press every time Mario Gomez scores, and it's like Mario Gomez, and then like a song plays. So it needs to be an Afreeca Freak, and every time they win a game, like Afreeca Freaks. So you press it every time they win because it's like a wild card.
Okay.
Really,
So moving on, we have Longzhu Samsung.
Samsung's gonna win.
Please, Longzhu.
Probably 2-0.
Save us from Samsung
Yeah.
playoffs.
I actually think this will be a 2-0 to Samsung.
I think it's going to be 2-1. I'll say 2-1 to Samsung. I think Longzhu will actually ban correctly, and they can put ambition behind.
Yeah, I still think Crown.
They need one. There's one champion to ban correctly.
Yeah, I still think Crown will be enough, and ambition's not useless. That's
like if they ban Graves and then Crash can counter jungle ambition, making him useless.
Maybe Chase is
There's a chance they could win a game.
You don't know.
I still think Samsung will win because LZ is going to swap out randomly.
Yeah, exactly.
Even after they win, they could win game one, swap.
Change places.
Yeah. So either way, I think we're on the Samsung train for them winning. Sadly.
Sadly, yes.
So Jin Air, Afreeca.
Yeah, see, this is an annoying one. If Africa loses, they're out of playoffs. Pretty much, because they're not going to win ROX, but Jin Air should really win. But let's see which Jin Air strengths are not good.
I think Jin Air still wins 2-1.
Yeah.
And it's obviously has to be a 2-1.
Let's be 2-1. That's our
playing. So I don't see real reason why Jin Air's they're getting close to the end of the season. They know it's like they need another win to solidify at least getting a first week bye. So they know they need to win it. It's probably their easiest match they have.
Yes. Well, they actually don't need to win, but they should actually really beat Africa.
I mean, to get second or third.
Oh yeah. They
not have to play all the best 4 best of 5s. Yeah.
They should win, but like, I've not been convinced by Jin in the last couple of weekends. But Africa can throw enough of a curveball to actually win 2-1. But yeah, I hope they win, but
Then we have SKT Kongdoo.
Yeah, that's
so
easy.
2-0, right?
See, that's another free win for the top. So.
Yeah, and then boy,
seconds.
That's a day to not tune in. Oh, I guess they aren't on the same day.
It's CJ
Thursday afternoon. You have Thursday night, and then you have Friday morning. No, the Friday, not Thursday night. The Thursday for second game, and then you have Friday first game is SBENU Longzhu. That's not a great game.
Please, if Longzhu loses that one, I'm gonna.
Do you think Longzhu has a chance to lose this?
No. Well, actually, the fact that they swap so much, they actually could. But...
Wait, sorry. I realised I didn't give predictions. So 1 second. So Samsung beat Longzhu 2-0, and then Jin Air beat Afreeca 2-1.
But then SKT thing was not important because that's too.
And then SKT Kongdoo is obviously 2-0.
Yes, to Kongdoo. This is the series they will lose. I'll call it now. And then so SBENU Longzhu 2-1 to Longzhu.
See, this is the issue. This is like the embarrassing series. If Longzhu loses this, they really have to retool so much.
Yeah, no,
they really shouldn't lose. Like if they just put some effort in, they can beat SBENU.
Yeah, this will be a 2-1 to Longzhu.
Because SBENU still has no idea if they fucking actually win games. Like they get their early game done, and it's like, how do we actually win the game now?
Gets to 30 minutes, they're not playing with a deficit. What do we do now, boys? I don't know, run around for a bit. Something will turn up.
Also, he's confident enough to actually score the goal then.
Yeah.
Then we have a very exciting series, KT CJ.
Yeah, fine. See some last games from CJ.
Can CJ keep their hopes alive?
2-1 to KT.
Yeah, I think the jungle matchup will just do enough, but I wouldn't underestimate the fact if CJ can get the late game enough, they could easily win. Just like I said, like I think Kramer is more than enough to get a repeat DD to actually beat him out.
So basically, as long as Bubbling can stay alive for the first 15 minutes of the game, they have a chance. And if he can't, it's KT.
Yeah, but Score's such a good jungler, though.
Yeah, but sometimes he just fucks it up, so that's a bit of the issue. Like I feel like he's not been as consistent as he should have been.
I don't think he's been as consistent, but I think he will be able to do enough.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely think
to set his team up to where they should carry, and then
yeah, sure.
It'll be on his hands. Samsung SKT. Will we see the Samsung Slayers take out another top team? Because by this time, I think if we have the predictions we have, SKT would be tied for second.
Yeah, they were tied for second, but SKT wants to go get second place, and they're just gonna. I trust it. I think they're gonna 2-0 Samsung.
I can't do it. I can't predict.
Yeah, I know you
can win this series, but I think they can win. I'm doing it. Samsung win.
Yeah.
This time I'll get it.
Of course.
What's the score?
2-1 to Samsung.
2-1. Okay. I think Samsung loses 2-1.
I would say my mind tells me SKT will win. My heart tells me Samsung will win.
No, your heart says SKT will win.
Your heart's lying to you.
I believe in ambition.
Oh god. No, because Blunts is actually not join. I mean, they can even take away the Graves, so they didn't even have to ban it.
I'll say 2-0 or 2-1. I think 2-1 because I think they're going to give Ambition Graves once, and then he'll be able to
I think everyone wants to do it once. They're like, he can't be that good on Graves. Ooh.
It is Ambition, after all.
Yeah.
And then we have another ROX victory. 2-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, that's the real
ROX
question.
This is Afreeca.
It's Afreeca.
I'm gonna go dangerous and say 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0.
I know, man. They've been trolling a lot. Like they were.
That's true, but
they were gonna 2-1 against Kongdoo if Prey hadn't done that hero moment.
Yeah, they're playing against the Mighty Mickey.
It's gonna be 2-1 to Afreeca. I know it.
I think they're playing against the Mighty Mickey, and he'll teleport into his death, throwing their only chance of winning the game.
World's best teleport. That teleport on 10% HP into the middle of a team fight. Yeah, I would say 2. I would 2-1 to Afreeca just because. Sorry, 2-1 to ROX just because.
That's a prediction.
ROX will try and style on Afreeca way too hard in one of the games, and they will lose for it.
So, anything else you guys want to cover, or is that pretty good?
Shameless plug. Wrote another article this week. Hit front page of Reddit. I'm 3-3 for my last 3 articles. Have all hit the front page of Reddit.
Had a sexy picture of Watch.
Yes, I did have a sexy picture of Watch in it. So yeah, if you can bother to read it, go read it. It's actually really good. Covers the 5 talents in Korea that could have been something good but didn't manage to be it, and the differing reasons as to what went wrong with their career. So yeah, I would say go and read it because you might learn a little, especially if you want to learn about kind of the deeper infrastructure that surrounds Korea and the player mentalities and that kind of thing, and how it differs from the West and how it's similar to the West in certain aspects as well. Go and read it because it is a historical piece as well, so it should give you like a clearer idea of the entire horizon of Korean esports. As is the aim of a lot of my articles.
Spoiler: did you include Rock?
Yes.
Because that is the saddest story of a man who just wanted to be a police officer.
I don't read the whole article, mate, but yes, he is in there, as are 4 other players. Obviously,
he's the most important one.
Obviously, it was written with a bit of personal bias, so that's why there's a bit. Some would say too many Najin players in it, but I don't care. I don't care what you think.
Well, I mean, if you look at Najin's record of having players that have been successful, they do have the best team in the world right now, while also not having a team right now.
It's the most Najin thing to do.
That literally is.
Well, the fact that there's a Najin player, there's 2 Najin players on SKT, there's 4 on ROX. Hold on a second here, it gets worse than that.
There's quite a few in China.
There's quite a few in China. There's 1 on Longzhu. There is okay. There's none on KT. Damn it. There's no any.
KT's pretty much just KT.
No, there's none on Samsung. But they do have 6 players on the. No, sorry, 7 players because Wolf used to be on SKT. So SKT are 3/5 former Najin and ROX are 4/5 former Najin. What is that all about?
They know how to get players into the scene. They don't know how to make a team with those players.
Hey, they made Worlds 3 times.
Yep. Did real well all 3 times.
75% rate of making Worlds. That's higher than. Wait, no, yeah, that's higher.
Not as higher. It's less than TSM.
Well, obviously they play in a fucking much harder region than fucking NA, don't they? Like fucking, might as well say like. It's not as high as Fnatic's rate of making Worlds as well, but who's keeping score for fucking garbage regions in comparison? My point is,
Riot Games are.
My point is,
believe me, if Watch shows back up, he'll be on like, oh, look at how great he is for making his 4th Worlds.
If Watch can make Worlds from the LSPL, that is a pretty impressive feat to be honest.
Believe me, I'm sure some Chinese team will like just sign him for the week.
But yeah, so go read the article. I think it's pretty good. It's on the Esports Heaven if you don't follow me on Twitter, but it's on my Twitter, so do whatever you want.
Rock is one of the saddest players. Like, is one of the biggest players to not continue playing.
Probably be pretty good right now, I reckon. Or he'd be on a Chinese team.
Well, I think he'd still be pretty decent over there. Well, I don't know. If he wants to be a police officer, he wouldn't want to leave Korea.
True.
I don't think you want to go to China to be a police officer.
Who knows? It's always it's always annoying when players like Achani stick around through thick and thin, and really good players just go, "I'm out. Can't be bothered with this."
Fucking Kiwi Kid effect.
Yeah. Kiwi Kid will get relegated soon. I'm sorry, Kiwi Kid. I know you're a big fan of the show, but you will get relegated soon.
He was hoping.
Don't worry, he'll get that contract.
Oh yeah, former LCK player Wisdom and Sunstar both got back into the EU LCS now, so there are even more Koreans.
Does it really get back in when they only played for what, 2 games?
Okay, well they definitely qualified for the EU LCS anyway, so.
Like that.
And Wisdom had a few really good games as well. So
it's almost like if you pick up some Koreans in Europe, you can pretty much stay in the EU LCS, even if they are subpar Koreans.
Its giants back into it.
It depends on the Koreans you pick up. It didn't work well for SK Gaming, but then they signed Vardag, so.
I mean, if you can pick up 2 IM players. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that's about it for this show. Can't think of anything else.
Watch the games. There should be some good ones this week.
Yeah, it actually should be. It's actually a pretty good week of Korean esports. So watch all the games, but maybe one.
There's a couple I might want to skip.
Yeah.
There's at least this week will really kind of really close down the amount of playoff teams left. So.
Yeah, I think I would say that the playoff teams are probably going to be.
Playoff teams are the top 5. Yeah,
I think they're at the top 5 at the moment. I think the big issue is who's getting 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yes.
SKT, KT, and Jin Air are now fighting for 2nd and 3rd.
Well,
second.
Samsung is also fighting for that.
Yeah, because they
I don't think you see Samsung getting that high up.
well because KT, SKT, and Samsung all have 9 wins. Samsung can just have one more loss than the other 2 teams, and it's like Samsung have a 60% win rate, SKT have a 64, KT have a 64, and Jin Air have a 67. So it's like it's really. I mean, then there's ROX with a 93% win rate. Like,
I see the issue with Samsung getting higher up is their +2.
Yeah. I actually look well. There's likely
Because the other ones are all +9, +9, +8. So
Yes. Okay, never mind. They'll probably tie somewhere.
I think Samsung's probably going to stay at 5th.
Probably. Yeah, probably just by game differential.
We
Well,
will know more
SKT
about
is still
that.
going second, and then
Yep.
is that Dasapu or whatever?
I'd say we will know more about that though after this week.
mhm.
Talk about it in the next episode.
Thanks for watching.
See you then. Bye bye.